Hi everyone, Savannah here, and today we're going to do an American themed cupcake. Everything you need to follow along is linked in the description down below, so let's begin. As always, let's change that background color, so select your layers, click into the background, and let's find the color palette that I have provided for you for the cupcake. We're going to do a grayish color for this background, and then we'll do a new layer and work on the cupcake frosting. Make sure that layer is below the outline layer, and we're going to grab this light gray white color, grab that circle brush, and we're going to start outlining the cupcake here. One thing I like to do is to turn off that outline layer so that I can see if I'm filling in the shape properly, if the outline looks good. This is where I'll tweak it before I start adding details. Now let's go ahead and add a new layer. We're going to do the cake part of the cupcake. So we're going to grab that yellow orangish color. And again, we're going to outline just this portion here with that color for the cupcake part. And now we're going to do the red for the wrapping around the cupcake on the bottom. So just grab one of the reds. I use the lighter red here. And again, we're going to outline the shape and then color it in. We'll add details to all of these here in a second. So we're going to go through and alpha lock all of these layers so that we can add the details. And for the frosting, I did add a new layer. I'm going to do different layers for the colors. So we have blue and red and also some stars that we're adding to this. So I'll do new layers for all of those. For the new layers, you want to set it to clipping mask and have that layer right above the frosting. What clipping mask does is it makes that layer that's the clipping mask confined to the shape below it. So for in this case, it's the frosting. And so anything that we add to that layer is not going to go outside the lines of what we have for the frosting. Right now, we're going to start adding in the color for this cake portion of the cupcake. So we're going to use those brown colors and we're going to use that circle blend brush and start adding in some shadows, some mid-tone colors. We'll lighten it up a little bit more as well, but just start adding shades of this dark brown and this medium tone brown and just start building it up to how you want it to look. And I just keep going over this. Again, I'm building up these colors. I want it to be a little bit more blended. With this brush, it is pressure sensitive, so the harder you press, the more pigment you'll have. The lighter you press, the more it will blend out, and show less. So just kind of play with it in this area, how you want to do the coloring, the shading. I'm kind of alternating between harder presses and softer presses, but again, this is your drawing. So if you want to go softer, you can. If you want to have more pigment, you can absolutely do that as well. I'm just, again, building up the colors here to a point where I am happy with how the cupcake looks. And now we're going to work on the wrapper that's around the cupcake here. So grab that medium dark red color, turn that outline layer back on, and we're going to start adding in some of these darker tones here, remembering where that light source is coming from. So mine is coming from the bright side here. If yours is coming from a different side, just make sure that you're kind of following where that light is coming and making sure that you're going opposite from the light to make it darker. So it looks a little rough right now. We will add in more of these tones and blend it out further. So don't worry that it's not looking like a cupcake wrapper at the moment. It will. We're just going to keep building up on these layers to make them look more like a wrapper. And you can adjust the size of the brush. You don't have to do the exact size that I'm using for these brushes, but mess around with it, get it to the thickness that you want for these specific sections, and make it how you want it to look. This part I'm doing some lighter touches to make it blend a little bit better with the left side, so that's why it's not as pigmented. It's just lightly blending out with that soft touch. And you'll see throughout that I am grabbing colors also from the actual drawing itself. So to do that, you just hold down your finger on the color that you want to select, wait until that color picker selects it, and then you can use that color going forward. This is really helpful when you're trying to find a color that's blended in between, let's say, this lighter red color and this medium tone red color. It helps blend it out even more seamlessly, and so I'll do that quite a bit throughout these drawings as well. And then some of the final things that I did here was add a little bit of the darker tone into the depths of the right side of where, if you know, like a cupcake tin kind of has those triangles that shift out, so I added a little bit of that darker tone in where it's the most inner point. And then same thing on the left side, I added a little bit more of that lighter red as like a highlight, just softly, not as strong as it is on the right, to give it a little bit more depth and dimension. And I'm going to add a little bit of a lighter red, so not in the color palette, but I just went to the slider and picked a lighter red color, almost white, and I'm just adding last little details here of this kind of brighter side on the right, just to make that distinction. Now let's work on the frosting part. We're going to select this red color in the color palette, and we're going to work on the stripes of the American flag here for the cupcake part. So just go ahead and start outlining it. We'll add in details here in a second, but again, this is on a new layer that's a clipping mask to the cupcake. So as you can see here, as I'm coloring in the layer here, it's not going outside of that line of the cupcake that we created. Now make a new layer, grab that dark blue color, and we'll start adding in that dark blue where the stars are going to be. Make sure though when you add that new layer, as I forgot to do here, that you're clipping masking it to the cupcake. Now let's work on the white frosting and add some depth to it, add some shadows and some midtones. Make sure you're on that circle blend brush and that you are on the layer that has just the white color, and just start adding in some of these mid-tones here. We'll lighten it up again at the end, but we want to build up on this layer to get those highlights, those lowlights, and those shadows added in. And I'm just alternating between these three colors. So I have that lighter, almost white color, I have that mid-tone tannish color, and then this darker brownish tan color. And I'm just kind of building it up to add some dimension. So I'm just thinking about how the shape of the frosting is looking. So it's kind of swirled around. There's going to be shadows from the upper red portions. There'll be a little bit of shadow from down below, because if you think of how frosting, it can kind of protrude out a little bit. So I'm just trying to build up on these layers, adding those shadows, adding those highlights, how I would think it would be a little bit more rounded towards that middle portion. And I'm just adding some texture here, just some squiggly kind of lines, just to give it more texture, something more interesting here to look at. You don't have to add it this way if you don't want to. This is just a style that I kind of went for this section. And once you're done with the white, we'll move on to the red. So you have a couple different tones that you can use for this. We'll grab that medium red tone and start adding color to it. Make sure though that your layer is set to alpha lock. I did not make sure for this one, but make sure that it's set to alpha lock and start adding in those colors as well, similar to how we did with the white. And you can keep alternating between these colors, keep adding those shadows, keep adding highlights, just until it gets to how you want it to look for the frosting portion. And now I'm going to grab this light red color. It's almost like a pink, and I'm going to add some markings on the center of the red here. I want it to look a little glossy, a little shiny because it's frosting, and so that's why I'm just adding these markings here to make it look a little bit shinier. And now we're going to do the blue, so go ahead and grab the lighter blue color that we have here and add some lines similar to how we were doing the red and white on the frosting down there. Just add some lines. You can follow the red lines if you want. You can add in different lines. I kind of followed them a little bit, but then also deviated. So just where you think it looks the best, just add some of those lighter blue lines here. And then of course make sure that you have this layer set to alpha lock because it will bleed into the red and white section. Again, it won't go outside of the cupcake shape, but it would go over the red and blue. And we're just building up here like we did with the red and the white section, just adding in some lighter areas and darker areas to make it look a little bit more rounded. And then we're going to add a very light glossy sheen to this, similar to what we did on the red. Now we're going to add a new layer so that we can add these stars. Make sure the outline layer is showcased. Grab that light whitish gray color and just start tracing the stars here with that circle brush. Now let's go ahead and duplicate that layer. Swipe left on the layer, select duplicate. We're going to alpha lock it and I'm going to add a drop shadow. So I'm going to select this blue color here and we're going to fill that layer. So just click the layer, click fill layer and just drag it to the left a little bit. We can also change it so it's multiplied, so it's a little bit more of a shadow. I brought the opacity down so it's not so bright. And then I'm going to alpha lock the stars as well because I want to add a little bit of variation to them. I don't want them to just be pure white. So grab that darker gray color and add some shadow here as well. I'm going to pull in some more blue here as well for the shadowing. Now that we are done with the cupcake and the stars, let's add a new layer, bring it all the way to the bottom, and we're going to add final details to this drawing. We'll start with that shadow. We're going to use that medium blue color and that circle brush and just start filling in the shape of the shadow here. And now I'm going to do a Gaussian blur on the shadow. To do that, you just go into the Gaussian blur and then you drag your pencil across the screen from left to right, and that's going to increase the intensity of it. We're going to add a new layer, bring that below that shadow layer, and let's add some final details to the background and the ground that this cupcake is resting on. And we are using that square blend brush for this section. And with that, our cupcake is done. Thank you so much for following along. I hope you had fun. If you did, please like this video. You can also subscribe to see future videos that I have in the works. Otherwise, thank you again for following along, and I will see you in the next video.